Hi everyone, today we're talking about the 3 best UK investments that you can make in 2020. And this is really important that you invest in kind of things and not keep your money in the bank. And also, it's also a little bit of a safety play as well. If anything happens, you've still got other income streams coming in. So it's really good to have multiple income streams. Now, normally, if you've done quite a good job of saving, you've kind of got a little bit of money in your bank, that money just kind of sits in your bank. And I don't know about you guys, but I just got a letter from my bank the other day which says that my interest rate is now going down to 0.02%. And it's like, what's the point of having all that cash in the bank when your money's pretty much not doing anything for you, when it can go to work actually for you and go bring you some more money in? So that's kind of the one thing we invest in. And as well as that, inflation is, 1% normally, even 2%. And with inflation, what happens is that your money actually decreases in value as it just sits in the bank. So why not get that money to go work for you? Why don't you go get that money to go get you some more money? And so on, and build that wealth up. And with that wealth, you can go treat yourself. I mean, it could be early retirement. It could be going to buy a nice, bigger house. It might be to go buy that new car that you want. Maybe a holiday that you've always dreamed of. But that money can go and make you money, which is the really amazing thing with investing in things. So your money is like your own little workforce really that goes and earns for you. And you might have noticed over like the last kind of few weeks with obviously the COVID-19 going around, that it's really important for your money to go and do things for you, because if your one main income source that brings in all your money disappears because unfortunately you might have lost your job, or it gets cut because you're on furlough, anything like that can happen to you. And if you had other income streams, it wouldn't have been that bad of a thing. And basically, the worst scenario to be in is that 100% comes from one income stream, and that basically plays for every outgoing that's out there. And the thing is as well, is if you kind of want to retire early and not work all your life, the only way you can do that with only 100% coming in from your job is that you either own your own business or you're a very high position into a company. So if you're kind of in that position, then that's okay. But for a lot of us don't really have our own company. A lot of us are not in a CEO kind of position in a company. So the other way that we can really manage that is by investing into a lot of other areas, and eventually that will get you to a point where you are able to retire early. So number one is obviously the thing that this channel is kind of built around, which is the stock market. And a lot of people have the kind of first impressions of Wolf of Wall Street style. That's the stock market, crazy parties going everywhere, kind of brokers. But really the stock market isn't like that at all. And if you're a long-term investor, then it's definitely not that sort of lifestyle. As a long-term investor, you're kind of investing into companies that you're thinking will be really successful in 2 to 5 years. So when you look at the success of companies that you kind of know that have done pretty well, which is like McDonald's, if you look at companies like Amazon, look at companies like Nike, you'll see in a long-term scale that pretty much all these companies have pulled out some amazing games where you've kind of either like doubled, tripled, quadrupled your money in a 5-year span, which is really good returns. When you compare that to your bank account that were giving you that 0.02% return, and you got companies that you can invest in that are giving you a quadruple return on your money, it's a pretty decent looking figure. And pretty much you only had to put in a few hours work to look into the company, and you get that massive return. There is other styles as well, so that's kind of like individual stock picking. There's ways that you can invest into kind of an index, and with an index you're kind of buying like 100 stocks, 200 stocks. So that's a very diverse kind of way and a lot safer. At the same time, obviously you're not going to have as big as the gains. I think the average is kind of like 8%, but at the same time it's a very safe one. But 8% is still better than that 0.02% you're going to get in your bank account. And another really big way also is dividend investing, and just investing into companies, and basically they kind of pay you for holding shares in their company. It's nothing kind of huge, but if you have like 100 shares or even more than that in a company, and it's kind of paying $1 dividend every kind of quarter, eventually that kind of starts adding up. And if you keep adding into them positions that pay you a dividend, that's only going to kind of snowball into a bigger dividend payment every quarter. So as well, there's dividend investing as well. So there's a lot of techniques. I'm not going to get fully into that kind of what kind of stock market is investing is the best one to do, but there's a lot of techniques out there and a lot of things that will give you a better return than that small return that you would get from just having your cash in that bank account. Number two, which is kind of like one of the easier ones to manage, but it's a lot harder to get into because of the expense, is property. Property is kind of one of the easiest plays that you can do into kind of invest in because it just kind of holds its value without you having to do too much. But property is one of those ones where it's a little bit more expensive. At the same time, house prices always go up and they'll continue to go up. So just for having your money in this kind of property, sometimes you can see some crazy gains and property values going up. And historically they've gone up, and probably going forward, house prices will go up going forward. I mean, even in recessions, even like the stock market, it does pull back, but it comes back eventually at some point. And as well as that, with property, the great thing with that is that you can probably buy into your property, and basically if you end up renting a property, what happens then is you kind of get someone to rent a property. You might even have a mortgage, and that person pretty much pays your mortgage off for you, and you kind of reap the benefits when that mortgage is eventually paid off, and you kind of get a property for free because that tenant that was in your property was paying all your mortgage, and then you get whatever you paid for the property, 250,000, you get a £250,000 house for free that your tenants all paid off for you. Granted, I made that sound a lot easier than what it actually is, but that's kind of the point, is that you kind of get tenants in and eventually they can pay the property or the mortgage off on that property. I mean, if you have enough money to kind of pay off the mortgage, then obviously you're just going to have a tenant that kind of every month pays you a nice little income as well. Obviously, the other way is to kind of flip houses, so you can buy houses, you can kind of do them up, and then eventually that price of that house will be worth more because you've done it up, and then you sell it for a property. You can flip houses, but I'm talking kind of from a rental property point of view, which is the easiest way because you get that house value gain over the years that you hold it, and also your mortgage kind of gets paid for by your tenant, and then you have a nice property at the end of it that you didn't even have to pay a penny for, apart from the deposit and any little things that needed touching up. So property investment is definitely a great way to be investing. And number 3 is another income stream. So this can be something that you manage, that's quite easy to do, that you set up and you sell through e-commerce platforms. Now we're quite lucky because there's as many e-commerce platforms as there's ever been before. You got eBay, Amazon, the Shopify, where you can set up your own website. So there's a lot of e-commerce platforms, and at some sort of point you'll have a decent knowledge in something. It might be something from the knowledge in cameras, it might be knowledge in old football shirts, something like that. And with that knowledge, you'll have a really good experience of like what things are valued for, how much you could upsell them for. So you could pretty much open an e-commerce site and you could be buying a product. It does, a lot of the kind of things you see is basically you buy things that are brand new. So you might import things from China and sell them, which you can do. But a lot of the other things as well, you might have a good knowledge on what football shirts are worth, for example, and you might see a football shirt that's for sale at a car boot that's like £10, and you have an e-commerce site. I mean, you can even use Facebook Marketplace for this, where you have no fees, but then you list that football shirt that you bought for £10 and you make £20 on it, and you'll have a good knowledge in some sort of area where you're able to buy products that are maybe secondhand, they could be new, and you'll be able to flip them and make a profit. So there's another way that you can invest a little amount of capital into a product, and then hopefully that products that you sell will give you a decent return. And it's quite easy to manage this because, to list a product, is it going to take you a minute to list it up? And it's something you do in your spare time as well. So it's going to take a minute out of your time, and then you're probably going to be doubling your money. So with all these e-commerce platforms that are out there right now, it's something really easy to set up. I do it on e-commerce. I have a little bit of an eBay and Amazon site that I sell some products on. So I kind of flip things on there for about 50% profit. That's one of my income streams. I use all 3 of these income streams, and even more than this, because the more income streams you have, it's the better for you. But yeah, if you can create another income stream through a product you sell, you might be able to even sell more products. That income stream becomes like one of your biggest income streams, where you're actually able to leave your job and then make that your full time. You might be able to run a company from it at some point. We've seen that before with many famous companies, that it started off from someone's bedroom, and then eventually it gets to a point where they've got a big massive skyscraper building in New York in the financial district. So it's something to work on, and even if it doesn't get to that point, something that turns in maybe in £500 a month is really helpful to you. If you have all 3 of these income streams and you turn in £500 a month from these income streams, you've just created yourself an extra £1,500 every month. And that's just from these 3, and there's even potential to make more than that. That's how income streams can really help you, and these are probably 3 of the best ones that are out there right now for you guys. So I thought I'd share that one with you. As always, guys, if you could smash that like button, that'd be absolutely amazing. If you did enjoy the video, please subscribe. And as always, I'll see you on the next one.